Well, hi everyone, and welcome back. Tom Slivick with Supervisor Ricahrd Forster. Welcome aboard, Supervisor.
Tom.
Say, what's going to be on our agenda coming up tomorrow?
What does it matter now? We were just talking about that. That's Hillary's big line. I think that one can be used over and over again in government, and if you perpetuate a lie long enough, then you just say, what does it matter now?
I think you're referring to what happened at Benghazi.
Well, Benghazi, the spotted owl, global warming.
Right.
I mean, we can keep going on, but we're going to hit some of that in our agenda today on the RCRC report. But we're also going to hit it right now. And our first two items up are letters that are going out from our board on the U.S. Forest Service El Dorado National Forest Meadow Corrective Action Planning Grant application. And this is for us to support the U.S. Forest Service so they can go in and get the work done. They've been sued by the environmental community, saying that you're causing damage to the meadows by allowing motorcycles, four-wheelers, other types of transportation to go through these meadows. Well, you're only going to cause meadow damage when, and you're going to deteriorate the water quality and things like that when it's muddy and when it's raining and when it's snowing, and most of the time
that's when it's closed.
It's closed. That's right. So they only open it up when those conditions aren't present, and you're not going to cause that damage. The second item is the draft supplemental environmental impact statement, and this is on the same issue on the U.S. Forest Service. I'm going to read you one thing that's directly out of our letter. This was John Hoffman's our county consultant on natural resource issues, very good on these issues. But if you're driving on any of these roads, he says, in most cases, it is a very, very old activity. And how old is it that these roads have been used? Some roads date back to the stagecoach days, and one section is the old Highway 88. Another is a part of the main immigrant trail to California blazed by Kit Carson. Now that's pretty old, and yet that's 1848 is when that goes back to the Mormon pioneers. So pretty old stretches of road that the lawsuit's been deemed to have some merit by the courts. So the U.S. Forest Service has to go in now, find the funding. Our argument is you don't need to shut down everything all the way. You just need to show that you're making improvements, and that's basically what the court said, is that they want to see that you're moving forward, that you're making progress on fixing the roads so that there is no meadow damage and meadow to the water quality and the streams and all of that. So we are really pushing the Forest Service to move ahead, leave as many of these roads open as possible when you're making progress on trying to fix the problem. And that means going out and applying for grants and doing the things necessary to get the money to fix these roads. I don't personally, as well as many other people, don't think that there needs to be a corrective action, but the way they phrased it was implement corrective actions. So that means applying for the grants, planning, and doing what you need to be. It doesn't mean that you need to keep these roads held hostage and closed for all of that time.
All right. Ricahrd, before we continue, we'll be right back. We're going to take a break, and then we'll be back with the rest of the agenda for tomorrow. So stay with us right here on TSPN.
You're watching Amador County's local television network, TSPN.
Well, hi, everyone, and welcome back. And you want to continue on?
Sure. We're going to have an RCRC report from our meeting in Sacramento. You always feel good when you come back from Sacramento after an RCRC meeting.
That's where you were last Wednesday, right?
Yeah, you see all the new pieces of legislation that are coming out from the state that don't make a whole lot of sense sometimes. But,
right. I watched their website called Barbed Wire, and it's things that really affect us. Yeah.
There's some big issues there. The one I'll just talk about now, we're going to have an action item tomorrow on the it's coming out of the California Environmental Protection Agency, Cal EPA, and it's the second public review draft of the Cal Enviro Screen document. Now, I saw a presentation of it at our CSAC Ag and Natural Resources Conference. We had another very extensive presentation at RCRC that was put on by both RCRC and CSAC last month, but this is a document that talks about the health of communities, and they've created a health hazard assessment. And this health hazard assessment is based on people's their age, whether they're pregnant or not, whether they have health conditions. Well, all of it is working under the assumption that their health conditions were brought on by pollution and things like that in the community in which they live. One thing they don't look at, which is a glaring error, is when we told them this in Sacramento.
People that move into the areas?
Well, people move into the area, but look at what a person did when they were 20 years old. How many drugs did they use? Are they alcoholics? What other problems do they have in their life? It's not just because of the area in which they live, and you can't keep blaming businesses for all of this. Sure, there's some areas where there are polluters. They need to be taken care of. AB 32 and SB 396 under the global warming laws are taking care of a lot of that, but what they're trying to do is squeeze more money out of businesses, which is just going to force more businesses to go out of California, but squeeze more money out and then blame everything on the businesses on what happens.
Where's the money that they're squeezing out going, Richard?
Yeah.
What are they doing with it?
They're going to take it, and they say they're going to put it into these communities, but the problem is, just like with the, which I'll report on at our board meeting too, just like with the carbon credit taxes, they're getting corporations to pay money based on the carbon credits, their amount of damage that they're doing to the economy. Well, Governor Brown's already said he's going to take a good portion of that carbon credit money and put it into the high-speed rail. I don't think that was really the intent where that money was supposed to go originally, but they need money for the high-speed rail. So the problem is a lot of this money, where it might have good intentions to start with, but it doesn't end up in the place where they said it was going to go. Okay. By the way, this, and I'm looking at my notes here.
Right, on here.
This has three areas that we're looking at. One is we want to make sure that this is not a tool that counties can use to go in and punish businesses. It was never intended for that. The other is it was never intended to be used as an aid in the CEQA process. So that's another area. And then somewhere in here there's one more point. We need something that clearly states the purposes and defines the purposes and where they're getting their information with science, not just everybody sitting around a room and think-taking, well, let's put this in there and let's put that. We want a science-based technology here, which we don't see. If it's coming out of California Environmental Protection Agency, it should be science-based. It should not be just off the top of your head, well, who do we think?
That's the thing, too, with the, in a sense, we take the federal Environmental Protection Agency, they almost act like there is no California Environmental Protection Agency. If you know what I mean. There's a duplication of so much effort and money's involved. And if you follow where I'm coming from or where I'm trying to go with that is that, which one should we listen to?
Well, California, just like on ADA laws, Cal EPA is usually more severe than the federal EPA. So sometimes it's not who we listen to, it's who's going to regulate us with a heavier hand. But on the rest of our agenda, we'll have a couple of public hearings, and I want to get to one specifically. It did not show up on the agenda because our environmental health did not get it to us, even though it was advertised in the newspaper. It is for the change in the ordinance for environmental health fees, some of the areas. Primarily, it's cottage industries, and these are all due to state laws that more regulation by our county environmental health department is required. They're mandated to do more inspections. So one is the cottage industries. The other is the tattoo industry, which is now more heavily regulated. The other is on the land use side on the land use process with EIRs. Right now, it doesn't allow environmental health to ask for a deposit, similar to what the Public Works Department does on any projects. So environmental health is going to start based on, if it's a large project, they'll get a $1,000 deposit. If they're getting to the point of exhausting those funds, they'll ask for more money to be put in to the deposit. It's not a case where they're just going to keep doing endless inspections. These are the things that they always do, but it'll actually make the process more workable for the development community. The other is on underground tanks and the Coupa process. More regulation, again, that our department is having to do. So this is basically, the fees are built in now. The land use committee's looked at this 3 times. It's gone before the board, I believe, twice, and now it'll come for adoption. But I wanted to make that clear because it did not show up on the agenda. It came in as an addendum now. So,
What all sort of things are they going to regulate?
the what's on
Newer regulations. What are they attempting to regulate there?
Well, no, these are specific areas that state law has passed, like on the tattoo industry. The state passed laws that require more inspections, and that's usually where it goes. Cottage industries, where you have people that don't own a business, but they're making food out of their home and then sending it out. Well, the board tried to make that as cheap as possible for people, so that if you just have people making their things at home, I mean, there are obviously people that are just trying to make ends meet as it is. So the board wanted that not to be a yearly fee.
This must be for a small amount of people, because most people need a permit to have a business-type kitchen, right?
No, these are cottage industries that people operate out of their home. So they're making smaller things that they might take and provide to other businesses and for sale.
Okay.
Whether it be cookies or whether it be something else. I mean, we don't want to over-regulate these people, but we just want to make sure that the public is safe. The other areas, a couple other public hearings, as we usually have. This one involves Kirkwood, where they're just asking for an abandonment of an easement from the board.
Okay.
And this is pretty typical up in the Kirkwood subdivision. And the other is actually the request for a variance, and this is upcountry, the Pardula Living Trust, and they're just splitting a piece of property up there. It's a small piece of property, about 12 acres.
Okay, Richard. Well, thanks for
Okay,
coming
Tom.
by and giving us a heads up on what's going to be happening tomorrow at the Board of Supervisors meeting right here in Jackson. So stay with us. We'll be back from the other side of the break.
You're watching Amador County's #1 news and sports leader, ESPN.